All right, so good evening, everybody. We are now officially starting here for our eighth episode of Top Deck Radio, the Hex TCG talk show. I have titled this episode, We'll Do It Live! Because a lot of what we're talking about tonight we kind of came up with at the last minute because it's not a very big news week. So this episode might be shorter than usual unless Manifesto and I are able to kind of spin a lot of discussion out of thin air. But how are you doing tonight, Manny?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. A little hot, if you can't tell. Already a little on the sweaty side. Got the box fan pointed at me, though, so should be good. Got myself a nice short haircut to cool down a little bit, but doing all right.
Yep. So I was out and about on Friday. I did not catch the last episode of Shardsworn Showdown. How did your battles
Oh,
of trying to destroy yourself go?
oh man, if we could have a tournament for decks that could kill yourself, I would have just walked home with all the platinum in the whole game. It was it was nasty. Unfortunately for our good friend over there, it was so brutal. We both decided we couldn't play Scribe Absolute Power as a combo to win because we just thought that would be uninteresting. And then I happened to find an even better, more stable combo by using um, Woken, the Woken, the 25 cost Woken, and Jaws, the champion that brings a troop back from your crypt and deals damage equal to its cost.
Great. So you do that to deal
So
25 health years damage to yourself.
yeah, and he has 25 life, so it was perfect. Like it was everything else was just draw discard cards. No other troops. Couldn't hit anything else besides the Woken. It was bad. It was hard. I was like, man, brew skills 100, feel bad's also 100. But yeah. So double win, 2 weeks in a row, got the crown. We're taking a break this week. I guess I can just say that now since you brought it up, and I'll have to talk about it later. Um, Marty's got stuff to do, and he runs the board, and I have all like the stuff, like all the graphics, and I could do it, but I think it's probably just better just to both just take the week and do something else, and then we'll be back week after with another show. But
Fair enough.
yeah, it's good
Mm,
now.
Need a break every once in a while. So tonight's show, folks, because as Ranter comments, there's been no big news for a couple weeks now. It's been the weekly articles have been here's your door prizes and Friday update announcing what the Merry Melee is, and that's basically all we've gotten for like 2 weeks. So I'm not
Three
even
weeks.
3 weeks. Has it really been three full weeks? That anyway, I'm not.
Yes.
I'm not bothering to pull up the Friday update to tell you what the Merry Melee format of the week is. I'm just going to assume people know how to get to the site and look that up themselves because that's the only news topic and it's not interesting enough to merit discussion. So a lot of what we're going to be talking about today is just random fun questions that we pulled out of our behinds and anything that chat throws our way that we feel we can talk about on stream and on the official channel too. Because some people like to ask hard-hitting questions about what do you think is going on in Hex Entertainment. And as I've told a couple people before, I'm not going to answer those kind of questions because I don't have a internal knowledge of how they operate, and I prefer to keep things on this show grounded in what we know and can actually verify, and not that kind of speculation. But so we'll kind of keep things,
On
I
the
guess,
other hand, I'll speculate all day, so you can ask me all those questions.
there you go. And I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna face palm on camera over here. Um, what's up, replay? So of our minimalist, and I know there's a lot of text in here, but these show notes are actually pretty minimalist. Where would you like to start tonight, Manny?
Well, Replay didn't say hi to me, so I was gonna say we should start with Replay's questions, but now he's being all like that. So we should probably just start with Replay's questions.
Okay, so yeah, I posted on Twitter that I was looking for some help with some show topics, and Replay sent us a bunch of questions, so I'm just going to kind of read them off. I copied them into the show notes. We'll do them in the order they were written, and we can determine, how much time each question merits. Some are probably easier answers than others. First, should Hex apply smart drops to chests, which would be similar to what we have right now with siege sacks? And how could that be balanced?
Yes. And yes. I can go first, I guess.
Go ahead.
Are we both taking each of these?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. So I hit on this 2 or 3 weeks ago. Smart drops to chests are definitely something that I feel like needs to be more of a necessity, not even a question. Especially when it comes to equipment. Cards, I mean, getting multiple PvE cards isn't the end of the world. Sometimes it's annoying the number of commons you get, but unless you play on, like, the Yahtzee, Steric, Coach Flip Around amount, you're probably not sitting on piles and piles of multiple rares. Some people are, majority probably are not. But as far as equipment goes, I think you should only get one piece of equipment. Once you have the equipment, you're done. It gets locked out. My idea to replace that would be once all the equipment is gone, you get a piece or two of Stardust based on the type of chest you spun and open. So if you roll an uncommon chest and you've already gotten all the uncommon equipment from this set, you get 1 to 3 or 1 to 2, however many, whatever you want to do, random number of Stardust in its place. Once you've gotten, Stardust 2 or 3 times in a row, you can safely assume you've probably gotten all the equipment. If you want to keep spinning for cards and Stardust, you can. If not, once you have, because checking for your cards is a lot easier. There's only usually a handful of new PvE cards each set, and you can search them pretty easy, and search if you have 4 of. Then once you've decided your collection is complete, you can sell off the rest of your chests. You can stop spinning them, save gold for the next set, be nice and give your chests away, do whatever you really want to do with it. But at least for equipment, I feel very strongly that it should definitely be smart loot, because I don't even spin that many chests, and I have a couple common equipments that I have into the high double digits of. Just because of variance, I guess.
See, I think that's more easy to implement than where I would like to see it go. I would like a much more aggressive and radical overhaul of chests. I'd like to take the Kismet slot machine that is the Wheel of Fate, or Kismet's chest spinning. I'd just like that whole system taken out back and like bashed with a hammer, like that scene in Office Space where they're just like destroying their office equipment. And instead of a gambling slot machine as your gold sink, put a fixed fee to opening each chest in gold. So rather than spinning it, you're guaranteed just pay 1,500, 1,500 gold or something to open a common, 3 to 5,000 for an uncommon, whatever. And so you still have a little bit of a gold sink there, but then you have your guaranteed smart drops. So you're not getting 10 copies of an uncommon equipment you don't want. You take the sleeves that used to be chest spin only rewards, some of that, and you add that stuff into the loot tables for the various chests, so that chests have more stuff in them to get, because there's no distinction between rolling and opening a chest anymore. It's just all in the opening. And then you could do something like you suggest, where you give out Stardust or larger gold as rewards if you've got everything else that chest can produce. I don't know, that's kind of the idea that comes to my mind.
So you just want all the rewards to be in the chest, and just
in the chest,
add them as a % rarity.
Right. Get rid of the slot machine. I'd rather pay a fixed cost to open each chest than have to spin and get no reward, 80% of the time.
Yeah, how would you do the upgrades in that regard? Like the chest upgrade spins? Would you just have it random? Like sometimes you open a chest, it's just like, surprise, there's another chest inside of it?
Yeah, you
that
could
would be
put
upgraded.
chests within chests, or you just I mean that you could also put that as a drop, like an upgrade token. You opened an
Yeah.
uncommon chest, and now you have an upgrade token, so you can save that for if you get a legendary chest. You can redeem your upgrade token to turn that into a primal or something.
Or so you're saying you could use on any chest you wanted? That would be a very rare item then.
Right.
You could hold on to it, use it on anything.
But primal chests are already very rare as it is because
No,
they're so hard to
yeah,
get.
but if you could get the upgrade token out of a common chest and then use it on a legendary chest to make it primal, it would have to be a very rare drop because you can't do that currently. You currently have to spin the costly chest and hope to get a primal. You can't just open common chests and hope to get a primal. So you'd have to make that a very rare item. Who said it? Plague said, can siege drops be implemented in chests? No. They could, yes, but no, because the whole reason there's siege items is to get you to play siege. So putting them in chests
Right.
would just
Defeat the point.
really, you would have no one playing siege because it's way easier to get chests than it is to win siege sacks. Forgot the word for a second. So that's I mean, it's not a bad idea, but it's a bad idea for what Hex wants to be doing.
Next.
I was going to leave you to answer Joe, though Hex replay kind of answered it to me.
Yeah, well, there's a difference between looking at the data itself and where people keep wanting me to go with that data. Like, we can talk about the raw numbers and stuff, but then people keep asking me to speculate on how long can Hex last and blah blah blah, and it's like, no, that's not territory we're going into. They could be sitting on $100 million in cash for all we know. So it's just, I don't think they are either. But I mean,
I know.
People keep asking me to talk about that. I'm not talking about that stuff.
Also, for all those doom and glooms, it's not like month 3 of every set doesn't see a decline because of it being the end of a set.
Right.
I mean, it's much more obvious in a game like Hex because there's much fewer players, so you notice it more, as opposed to a game of 1 million players losing 500,000. The other 500,000 would never know that there's 500,000 are gone. But in a game like Hex, you do notice when even a small percentage of your total fan base takes a break. So,
plus you and I both think that you and I both think spoiler season is starting within the next week or two. So this is always kind of the point in a set's life where activity is going to be right about as low as it gets. Replay second question. Should Hex have been more strict on their moderation of the forums? My initial response to that would be,
so you can
response to that would be, what moderation? When have we ever seen any meaningful moderation on the Hex forums? I think the only time it ever gets there is when threads get so toxic that they're like, all right, it'll start with a real, oh, everybody be nice, remember, no flaming each other, and then they'll just lock a thread. I think I've seen one person ever actually get forum locked for a few days. So, and they need actual moderators who are going to moderate. Like, it ends up falling on Dinotropia almost every time to be the forum mod. And while that is part of his job, it would be nice if he's not the only one doing that, because he's got enough going on. So, yeah, I think the forums would benefit with some actual moderation for once in their life. That said, I'm not volunteering to be the guy who wades into those swamps to be the moderator.
Don't give me a banhammer. Overuse.
Actually, the person I'm thinking of is not the person that Strom is, so maybe there's 2 people who've ever been handed timeouts. Should replace question the third. Should Hex launch a legendary PvP resource?
Hells no. I believe last week we were just talking about how there should even be rare resources.
Right.
I think that kind of came up when we were answering our Ask Manny and Thrawn question about signature decks. Like, no legendary resource would just be right out. Like, unless it was so niche that like it was unplayable. Unless it was like a very specific deck, and like if you wanted to play it, you could go buy it. But I mean, it would only be used for that one thing, and that deck would have to be like on par with every other deck. It couldn't make it any more broken than the rest of the decks. But like, there's no need to make a legendary resource.
No, Hex.
Especially if it's good. If it was not only a legendary resource, but it was also like a good like wax sacrament good, like in every single deck of one or more thresholds, it would just get out of hand so fast.
I think Hex is
price wise, obviously.
For Hex to succeed, they need to continue to try to position themselves as the cheaper alternative to other TCGs out there, and make up in volume, you know, the difference between what they're getting in sales and what other competitors are getting. And I think the fastest way to kill that ambition would be to create obscenely expensive resource bases for your constructed scene. So I think you know, a legendary PvP resource is a bad idea. We will not see one. We will not see one in the next set. They'll finish off the current rare cycle. So it's not going to happen now.
I mean,
it wouldn't surprise me if they tried something like that in set 11, but I'm hoping they're smart enough not to.
What, not having more rare resources?
No, make a legendary resource in set 11.
Oh.
After this
there
current
should
cycle.
definitely not ever be a legendary resource. That shouldn't even cross their minds. Really, I mean, if it wasn't for the impact that dual shards have in drafting, I would just say everyone should have 4 of every resource in your collection from the beginning, and just, even like when you build your limited decks, just have access to all the resources. But that takes away a little bit of the competitiveness and like tech of how to draft correctly. Like, that's like part of what makes good drafters better than not so good drafters. So I wouldn't want to see that get hurt because of what I just said. But if there was no limit in this game, I would be 100% all for just 4 ofs every resource everyone gets. Every time a new resource comes out, everyone gets 4 of it. Be done. Because there shouldn't be that much barrier to brewing.
All right. I'm going to put replays questions on hold for a second so that we can talk about Stroms before it gets buried in chat. Would you be in favor of the following changes to Siege? Attackers get immortal cards, but defenders get to use mercenaries. Defenders may not use the same thresholds for decks unless the decks are 80% different.
I like that second part, because you run into some people who put up 3 of the same exact mono ruby aggro, except it's using 3 different champions.
Yep.
And that was an example. There's other ones that work the same, because champ powers don't usually make or break the defending decks. So that I am 100% on board for. The rest of it would have to just be like tested. Like, as long as I'm all for throwing anything at the AI and giving the attackers any utility, as long as in the end the win rates are around 50-50 still. Obviously, it's never going to be perfectly 50-50, but I mean, the AI has limitations. So every time you give attackers more, you have to give defenders a smidge more. Even though, like, now we've seen some really good defending decks, they still misplay. Even the best defending decks I've watched the AI just completely stumble with. So I'm all for. I mean, obviously, I think everyone who plays Siege and enjoys Siege, like myself, wants one day to be able to all cards be played by both sides, and it be fair. But I don't know if we'll see that anytime soon. But definitely, mercenaries. I think both sides could get mercenaries, and it would be okay. I don't know. Obviously, you have to. It's just so much testing to do. It's
all right.
How many broken combos can you make with all the mercenaries that both sides can take advantage of? Really.
I'm down for anything that gives us more ways to use mercenaries, and I'm also I'm fully behind Strommore's suggestion of some kind of requirement where decks have to be different, because nothing makes me saltier and close Hex and go play something else faster than when I sit down and go, I'm going to try to earn some siege sacks today, and then I run into 50 Shades of Ruby aggro or some kind of nonsense like, Coach Flipper on 3X, Chrono Demon, or whatever else shenanigans, or somebody's basically taking the same deck and running it 3 times. And I remember that mentioning that complaint in the Warden's Discord once, and the response to that was, well, if you know how to beat the deck once, you know how to beat it 3 times. And I go, if I beat the deck once, it's boring as hell to have to play it 2 more times. And that's assuming that, I didn't win the first time by either luck or the barest skin of my teeth, so...
Yeah. I mean, I can beat Mono Ruby, but beating Mono Ruby 3 times, especially with some of those higher horn cards, is just... It's not that cut and dry.
I will just say, maybe I'm going to upset somebody for saying this, but if your idea of a fun siege content for people is to use the same deck 3 times, that's a pretty garbage thing to do, and you should feel ashamed of yourself and not do that anymore. Thank you. Replays question the 4th. How often should signature decks come out? And this was also asked independently by Aries on Twitter. So we've got 2 people wanting to know how often should signature decks come out.
This is the other one I slightly touched on a couple weeks ago when we were just talking about signature decks. Because the discussion was about Hex releasing signature decks to target cards to drop their prices, I believe is what the question was.
Right.
And my comment was, paraphrasing, I feel like we felt like they were doing that because they dropped 3 at once when there were none, so a whole bunch of cards dropped in value at the same time, which was weird and kind of agitating to some people who may have been holding on to some of those cards to sell. But moving forward, I feel like 1 signature deck per set, or maybe 2, but not released at the same time. So 1 every other month, 1 every 4 months-ish would be fine and okay as far as its impact on the economy. Any more than that, I feel like you're doing a little more harm than good for the people who are using or who see Hex as an actual TCG where their collections have value, even though signature decks also create a way for new players to get into the game. It creates a problem for older players who see this as a TCG and not a CCG, where in the end their collections have value. And now I'm reading chat, so you can go.
Yeah, Replay says, I think a signature deck should be out every 4 months, roughly 1 month after each set comes out. They're supposed to be meta relevant, but that can't be done before a set is out.
Yeah.
I want some kind of...
I feel like 1% would be fine.
I want consistency and clear communication on, a set standard so the community knows when to expect a signature deck is coming, and that requires communication skills that Hex Entertainment has not been known for in recent history. But I'm more of the sooner is better than later tack on that, even if you don't know the way the meta is going to be. I think I would take more of the tack if you're going to release a pre-constructed deck like that. It's at set launch, or it's set launch plus 2 weeks.
Yeah,
you give people a little bit of time to play with the sets, and then you drop a deck on them. I think even 1 month is too late.
These are not decks they should just drop. That was the big blemish. Oh yeah. At the same time, you say that you can't, the pre-con decks have to come out like a month after to know where the meta's at, but it have to be meta decks. I feel like when the cards are printed, you kind of have an idea of what cards are strong, because if you look at other TCGs that exist that also release pre-constructed decks, they release 4 to 5 decks at the beginning of every set, and they release with the set, and they do just fine. I feel like you're designing the set So you know all the cards, and you can pick and choose cards that are going to be strong. And maybe some of them might not make the meta, but I feel like you can make pretty good educated guesses to get at least a handful of value cards into a pre-con deck.
Right, and you know what the themes of your set are, so you could make decks that maybe aren't the most, tier 1 tuned, but are more honed into that theme and more aggressively good within that theme than what the collector's decks are doing. Like you could take,
and then
you could take you could find a midpoint between Nero's Momentum deck and the Shamrock Collector's deck, for example, and just really, or Noel's back, Noel aggro, take that theme and hammer it pretty hard to make one of the most strongest decks you can that's specifically tied to one of the themes of your set.
And then the only thing you lose there is that it's not really a signature deck anymore. It's a pre-con deck because Hex is making it. If they really wanted to keep it in the spirit of signature decks, they would. I mean, it wouldn't be hard. You'd have to sign a non-disclosure, but you just pick the people you want to make the decks and give them the set early. I mean, it's not like they can't brew. Like, they know the cards. Be done. Be easy. Or ask them what shards they want to build a deck in, and then give them all the spoilers for those 2 thresholds. Or 3 thresholds, depending on how many thresholds you want the deck to be, and let them brew for 2 weeks and then submit their deck. So if they really want it player created, still there's still an option to have it with release and still be a signature deck.
There you go. All they have to do, and they can just send me an email, say here's the full spoiler sheet, and I will make that wacky pre-con deck that everybody loves to crap on. It'll be funny. I'll think it does some cool thematic things, and then everybody will tell me it's an awful deck. So I'll be that guy. I'll take it for the team, because I'm virtually certain that any deck that I'm asked to build, that's exactly what would happen. I would think it's hilarious and fun, and I'd be alone. And that's why I do Dungeon Masters of Entrath and not 4-0 Hex bashes or clashes.
Yeah, don't let Thrawn decks. It's a great idea.
I know my place in the Hex community. Replays other question: primal packs. Should primal packs be fixed to once every 50 packs? And I guess since replays in chat, I'd want a little clarification on this. Do you mean like roughly primal packs are about a 2% drop chance right now? Are you saying rather than that you'd like to see the drop chance cut in half to about 1%, which is what you mean by 1 in 50? Or do you want chance removed from it and it's literally locked into you buy 50 packs, you're guaranteed a primal?
Yes, that's what he's asking. He wants it to be every single time you hit that 50 purchase, you get a primal pack. So if you buy 25 packs set 10, and then you buy 25 packs set 11, you'll get 1 primal pack on that second purchase.
See, that could work. I'd kind of be okay with that. I didn't really think that's the way that question was going as asked, but I would like to see some sort of analog or equivalent to like buy a box promotions and stuff in other games. I think if you buy like 40, 50 packs in one shot, I think you should be guaranteed a primal or something like that. Create some more incentive for people to buy boosters or platinum in a large chunk.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if I'm going to say less, but like if I buy 100 packs, I usually get my 2, and sometimes I get more. I don't think I've ever had that string of bad luck where I don't get the minimum percent I'm supposed to. True, it may be like I buy 70 and get none, and buy 30 and get 2, but I feel like I'm always on the winning side. I don't like the idea of every 50 just getting it, like, because that just turns whales into they're always buying packs of 50 and getting 1. I would rather see something more like every time you buy a pack and don't get a primal, the chance to get a primal goes up a smidge. So it's still random and you never know when in that 50 you're going to get a primal, but you're guaranteed to get a primal by the time you buy 50. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, there are races that feel bad, like, oh, I bought 50 packs and didn't get a primal. But at the same time, if you buy, like, 10 and don't get a primal, and then 10 don't get a primal, and then 10 you don't get a primal, 10, that's 40. Yeah, you still don't get your primal. You know that next 10 you're going to get it, but you could have gotten it before, earlier, in that 140.
I'm just...
So...
My school of thought is always consistency. I will always favor a system with a known outcome. Buy X packs, get X primal, versus anything that's RNG and gambling mechanic. And I'd love to see Hex, considering the state of the VIP program and how not engaged people are with that. Anything that they can do that is a customer rewards program to motivate people to spend money in the game and reward people for doing so in a way that doesn't completely, wreck their economy. I don't think a slight increase to the number of primal packs is going to do much for the economy overall, especially considering how juiced they've made the amount of packs that come out from a bash and a clash as opposed to what they were into the old format. I think a 1% tweak in the primal drop rate seems kind of trivial to me.
I can hear you. No, I can't.
I wasn't saying
Thrawn?
anything. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
You're back.
Good. Replay says, I think if Hex wants to do VIP changes, it'll be around the 22nd July when the sleeve is set to change again. That's actually a pretty good prediction. Although last time we called them out on it in the dev stream, they played their traditional party line of we have nothing to announce at this time, but they said it in such a way that it gave me the impression they weren't even thinking about it or doing any work on it, not just, hey, we'll talk about it later. So that was kind of discouraging. But I think Replay's right. If there's going to be any changes around it, it might be about at that time. And
I would hold my breath.
Devs need to communicate more. Yep, I continue to rail on that one all the time. But tonight's a pretty open forum. While we're still live here, if anybody else has questions in chat, topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to fire out questions. I'm going to use editorial discretion on what we do and don't cover. But I mean, most questions I'd say we're probably fine to answer. I had two random, funny, just kind of whatever topics for tonight. One was talking about dungeons, and then the other one is Would You Rather Hex Edition, where I created a bunch of questions, and chat can jump in here too if you come up with any others. Hex-related questions of would you rather this or would you rather that, and then we have to come up with an answer. So what do you want to talk about first? Manny, do you want to try to come up with some Hex dungeon concepts, or do you want to ask each other stupid questions about Hex?
Let's ask me stupid questions about Hex.
All right. And then Would You Rather Hex Edition. And again, chat, feel free to throw out some Would You Rather style questions for us as well. But Manny, would you rather enter a bash with a tournament where your deck is composed entirely of only common cards, or you can have all rarities, but none of your cards can cost less than 4?
Currently, I would probably say all rarities, but nothing costing less than 4.
Interesting. I would go only commons, because I think you can probably build a decent aggro deck and try to hammer them fast, plus cheap removal, what removal exists in common, and just try to get under somebody's face before they theoretically could even get to a 4. I think if you're waiting until turn 4 to start playing your deck, you're dead.
Well, if that first card's Massacre, you're fine.
Strumworth
Depending on
says
what you're playing.
commons and then go read on aggro. There you go. A variety question. Would you rather be forced to play only one deck for 4 months and get an 80% win rate with it. And I mean on the ladder, I don't mean tournaments. So play one deck for 4 months and win 80% of your games, or as many decks as you want, but you're only going to win half of your games.
You said on the ladder?
Right.
Thrawn?
Yeah. I was waiting for an answer.
Oh, you said on the ladder, right?
Yes. So we're talking ladder, not competitive tournaments here. Would you rather play one deck and win more?
50% then. I'd take infinite decks, because if you win 50%, if you win half your games on the ladder, you can still get top 64.
Yeah. I'd
take that.
I'd rather play as many decks as I want and only win half of my games versus honing in on one deck and winning 80%, because I just think I kind of have game ADD sometimes, and I like to bounce from thing to thing, and if I'm locked into only one deck and I'm only allowed to play one deck for 4 months, I would just get bored and probably drop out after month 1. So yeah,
I would definitely
on the same page as you there.
Many decks, and lose a bunch. That's fine.
Would you rather?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
This is not a stream where I'm talking constantly. Just to hear the sound of my own voice. Would you rather spin a common chest 10 times and get nothing? I should have added. Spin 10 times and get nothing. Or just mail 10k gold to someone who you've put on your chat block list?
Well, that's an easy one for me. There's no one on my chat block list, so...
Oh, I have a pretty healthy...
Sending that 10k gold to myself.
I have a reasonably healthy chat block list. Although...
Really? From what? I don't think I've blocked anyone. I think there may be one.
There's just been a lot of people who are insulting each other and stuff in general chat. About half of them are just gibberish number names who've never come back. And there were a few spammers where their names are entirely just random gibberish characters.
Oh, there it is. Ignore list.
But yeah, I have an ignore list.
0 people. I didn't even put one guy on there that accused me of cheating 1,000 times.
Oh, I had one person do that, but I didn't block them. I did file a report on them with support though, because life is short and nobody has time for that nonsense.
Hex replay. Should Hex launch PvE copies of cards that offer a unique play experience like Jankbot to give a wider option to use those cards?
So you're saying
Hex
like
launch.
The same card but PvE, like release a PvE version of Jankbot, or are you talking just PvE cards that create entirely new rule building experiences like what Jankbot does?
I think he means the second, but I'm not sure. I feel like that's what the mercenaries in PvE are supposed to do.
He
means actually Jankbot.
Then I would say no in that case. I would rather see them reprint the cards. Like
reprint Jankbot?
Yeah, just make Jankbot standard again. Make him something you can find in booster packs so that people are cracking more copies of him. And hopefully with the economy that sorts itself out where people are able to buy that card for a reasonable price. Well, Replay makes a point, though, that my way they have to reprint a card every 4 sets. I think I'd make it like some kind of evergreen, because anything that's PvP legal can be played in PvE. So maybe you just add that card into you don't make it a PvE card per se, but you could add it into the loot tables for a dungeon or something. And give it out that way. Although they might not like to do that because of their whole idea that these cards are separate, and so giving out a PvE or a PvP rare and PvE might not be something they're willing to do. But I think for some of those really non-meta wacky cards, I think it'd be fine.
I may be out of the loop here, but can you not use Jankbot in PvE? Like as a man?
Why couldn't you? I think
I don't know. From the sound, it says I want Jankbot back if nothing else than for PE. Like just play Jankbot and PvE.
I was gonna say I'm pretty
You
sure
can
I
do it
can.
now.
I'm pretty sure I
It's
can
already a
drop
thing.
into. Pretty sure I can drop into both the campaign and the arena with Jankbot right now if I wanted to. I have Jankbot siege decks, so I know that works.
Unless they're just saying they want to reprint because Jankbot isn't easy to obtain at the moment, which would be fair, I suppose. And I guess if you made it a PvE card, you could get it for free.
Yeah. Crafty Dog also ran into somebody who called him a cheater. Like,
Based on that description, I'm willing to bet it's the same person.
it's I can't remember the player's name, but I think there was one person who had a reputation of like calling everybody who was beating him a cheater.
Yep, there's two of them now. Would you be in favor to delay PvP sets a bit to get some progress on PvE features?
No. I have a full thought on that, but if you got something, I'll let you go first.
I mean, there's no right or wrong answer to that. It's just who you ask is going to give you a different answer. I would be fine with it personally because I enjoy PvE enough. On the other hand, if they're in a position where if they aren't releasing stuff every X amount of time, because if they don't, they're going to run out of money and close, I could understand why that would not be a good idea. But as far as just in a perfect world where Hex goes on no matter which you choose, I would be fine with a 5-month set so they could have an extra month to work on a PvE set. That wouldn't bother me at all.
I mean, as a strictly theoretical question, I'm fine waiting longer to see some substantial, like, noticeable progress on features. But in the real world, the fastest way to kill your game is to turn off and delay your primary revenue stream, which is the sale of boosters via new sets. It would, like, we already survived the 9-month period that was between Armies of Myth and Primal Dawn. That was miserable. People were losing their minds. That cannot happen again. If there was another 9-month gap between sets, this game is dead. So
he did say a bit though. Like,
right, he
I
did
didn't
say a
take
bit,
that
and
as, like,
I know I'm
set 3 to 4.
Yeah, I am taking, I guess that is an exaggeration to go from 4-month windows to 9. But, you know, if they were to even entertain that, then again, they need to be more communicative than they're known for.
Yeah.
And say, hey, we're delaying set 10 by 1 month. It's going to be 5 months. But in exchange, here's what you're getting.
Yeah, there would definitely be something that to be said. Or as soon as 4 months rolls around, everyone, even if you surprise them with the new PvE stuff, if 4 months rolled by and there was no start of spoiler for set 11, people would just be pretty much how they are now, to be candid. So yes, communication would be key in that, but I don't see how that much. But yes, we couldn't have another set 3 and 4, 9 months, 7 months. That's just too long to go without freshening up your PvP side of things, where all your money's actually being transacted. That's a sentence. It is now.
Yeah, just think about Fred's State of the Game articles 1 month from now. If a month from now we weren't in spoiler season yet and we were still waiting on things,
We'd be so mad.
It wouldn't be good. Let me see here. Oh, my would you rather questions. Would you rather enter a bash with a champion whose power you cannot use at all, or 8 completely unplayable cards? Like if you're playing Diamond and Ruby, and then you have 8 blood cards in there.
Enter a bash with a champion you can't use. Easy.
Yeah, I think I'd be the same.
With my luck, my opening hand would be 5 of those 8 cards every time.
Would you rather have 10,000? This is the classic money question: 10,000 plat right now, or 25,000 plat this day next year?
I feel like this question would be a lot harder to answer if you added a couple more zeros to the end of those numbers. 10,000 plat isn't that much, but I would still probably take 10,000 plat now.
I think I would actually be able to wait. I can wait a year for $250 worth of platinum. I have enough stuff going on in my Hex account right now to tide me over till that payday. So I could be the patient one.
Not me. I want the stuff.
All right. The prestige question. Would you rather have your own vanity card and everybody knows it's your vanity card, or would you rather have complete creative control to design a dungeon for PvE, but nobody ever gets to know that was your handiwork?
I would rather design a dungeon.
I think I'd rather...
Because with my luck, my vanity card would suck and not get played. Or it would not get played specifically because my face is on it.
Right. Oh god, it's the Manifesto card. Just, I know this is digital, so I can't rip it, but
yeah. And I'm crafty enough to like put my thumbprint on a dungeon without them knowing. I would sneak it in there. Something like the boss's name, like the boss's name spell out N-A and I or something, like the first letter of each name that goes through and it spells out Manifesto or something like that. I'd be real sneaky about it, but I'd put it in there like an Easter egg.
People already know what my dungeon would be, so I don't know that I could get. I'd have to design a new one if I'm going for anonymity, because if I get my say, my dungeon would be the Super Mario parody dungeon, where Princess Corey is kidnapped by a dinosaur that's like a Bowser analog, and you have to team up with a Holiday who's dressed as Luigi, and a Shroomkin as Toad, and just kind of ride around, go through the castle to try to rescue Princess Corey. That's my dream dungeon, but I've said that a couple times now, so people would know, and I'd have to come up with something else.
You mean you wouldn't design a 250 floor tower dungeon?
Right, the dungeon
that we have to fight through over the course of a year.
A single dungeon that's like 40 hours to get through, and then at the end, all you get is one dungeon pack.
Yeah, that's how I feel like your dungeon.
Would you rather have the current Hex chat system in-game as it is right now, or the entire chat is stripped out and people can only talk in, like, emotes?
Current chat system? I'm not sure that... I would like to know what your thoughts were on how the other answer could be better.
Because in an emote-based system, somebody can't call you a cheater, can't drop F-bombs on you, can't, say different miscellaneous garbage. The worst thing that can happen is that somebody could spam like a thumbs up or a thumbs down or a well played or whatever like a dozen times and annoy you that way.
Yeah. No, I mean, even though those people exist, there's still tons more better talking people than bad mouth people, so I would not want to go back to just emotes. I have some very nice whisper conversations with people in game. The chat could definitely be a little better, but there are people that like to talk to me. I had like a 2-hour conversation last night about ska music because I was playing and I ran into them on the ladder and they've seen the show and they just started talking about bands and our game ended and then for like the next 2 or 3 games on the ladder we had a whole whisper conversation the whole time. So nice.
I love chat.
Definitely prefer current chat iteration.
The crafty
and
dog.
Replay just whispered me, "You're kind of cool in game."
He's just trying to prove your point.
You too, bud.
I like Crafty Dog's like, my options are like asking somebody if they want all their teeth pulled or whether they want a root canal without anesthetic. The whole point of Would You Rather is that the questions aren't always going to be good. Sometimes you have to pick between 2 crappy options. That's
true.
That's the nature of the game.
Wait till the next question.
Yeah,
next question's real good.
This next question is real dumb, and I felt dumb when I asked it. But would you rather have 1 million spectral acorns, or 1 actual real tree?
When you say real tree, you mean like in my front yard, or like actual spectral oak? No,
something that you can actually plant in your yard and get like acorns or apples, or I don't care what kind of tree it is. One real tree.
I would like 1 real tree, please.
Yeah, I think.
And 1 million acorns I have to destroy.
Yeah, I'll take the tree that can produce 1 million real acorns. Hex decides to go crazy town with their sets, and you can have a themed set that's all actions but does not have any troops in it, or no actions at all and it's entirely troop combat.
For me, it's definitely all actions, no troops. 100%.
I think I'm the same because we have a lot of troops that we can work with right now, and a hex set that's all about slinging spells at each other and chain manipulation sounds interesting. Until I realized that it devolves into what's literally my hell of everybody playing counter control decks.
What? That's like my paradise.
That would be.
What do you mean it's your turn and I left all of my resources up and 7 cards in my hand?
Everyone who's watched me stream Hex for any amount of time knows that the fastest way to make me go from 0 to salt is to throw a control deck in my face.
The person who goes first wins because they don't have to play the first card. The person who goes second has to draw, so they're going to have to discard first. So, well, I guess it all depends on how many resources you end up grabbing, but I would take a million egg coin.
With my
I'm definitely going all actions, no troops.
I'm not sure I could redeem the tree for where I live right now. I own a townhome and a townhome association. I don't think I could just say, I'm going to plant a tree here. My association might be a little...
That's the reason you ask and would just plant a tree. Go out in the middle of the night, plant a tree, die.
I'd be like, it's easier to ask forgiveness than permission. This tree's here.
Yeah. And then what? Then someone has to be the jerk that wants to kill a tree. Who wants to be that person?
Yeah, that's what I got. That's what I got for dumb would you rather questions, because I started coming up with that about 30, 40 minutes before we went live. So I didn't have...
Oh, we're not going to do mine? I'm not going to do my question.
If you want to... We'll do your question if you read it. I'm not... It was... you wrote it. I'm not reading it. I'm not taking credit for those words.
My question was, listen to us ramble for 2 hours or actually submit material for us to be used on the show in the form of videos and questions.
I don't know.
Now you have to answer, because I said it.
I don't know if that's a burn on us. Or that question is directed at chat. That question is not directed at me. I will take it as a moment though to talk about
Oh, I saw your question. You put a cap at the end, so I didn't know if you were joking, Stromwar. If you've learned anything from replay, if there's a cap at the end of your question, we take it as a joke.
I didn't,
and or ignore it.
But
since you asked,
I didn't even see
would you rather have a gladiator duel swamp butt or have a gladiator duel versus the cult of the Nameless City? I don't know what a gladiator duel is. Or do you mean like an actual
you're thrown
old school gladiator pit?
You're thrown in a Roman Colosseum, and they chuck a sword down at you, and you have to fight Swamp Butt or like the librarian.
I would take Swamp Butt. I'm pretty sure I have 0 chance to win against a Cult of the Accursed in an arena, but I might have a chance at one flatulent ogre. I'm pretty sure I would take my chances with the single ogre.
Yeah, I think
the Cult of Chaos touch minions.
I'll take potential death by noxious farts over death by like getting my brain sucked out of my head or something. Would you rather all Hex artworks be like Promiscuous Succubus or original artwork Relentless Corruption?
Relentless Corruption.
Yeah, you're making me look that one up now.
You mean like this? You mean like the style? Like, would I rather have it stylized like Promiscuous Succubus or Relentless Corruption?
Are we talking like fan service-y boobs versus whatever Relentless Corruption?
I mean, Relentless Corruption's kind of like a low detailed. I mean, it's not a bad piece of artwork, but it's definitely not one of. I mean, the colors are nice, but the actual details kind of.
I think in the context of that question, I would rather go Relentless Corruption.
Promiscuous. Let me take a look at that one. I just sold a bunch. Actually, that's not true. They all just came back to me. Yeah, Promiscuous Succubus is kind of like a low, like non-sharp color, almost chalkish look to me. I would much rather have the artwork of Relentless Corruption than Promiscuous Succubus.
That is an extremely long link. Oh. That the original art, not the version that's in the game. What
Oh.
replay linked isn't even.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, that just makes the question.
Promiscuous succubus. Then no, yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
well, when you give it to me that way, now that I've clicked the link and I'm actually looking at that, all right. As much as I think fan service and boobs can be overdone, I'm definitely taking the art quality of Promiscuous Succubus over that original Relentless Corruption. That's I'm not a I'm
That
not
relentless corruption kind of looks like someone
I'm not a fan.
I know. It's kind of scary.
Yeah, I don't like trashing an artist's
I've never even
work, but
seen that.
I'm not a fan of that one.
Fan service ad anime waifus. Oh, look, Strom's in chat.
Yeah, we know Strom's position on waifus. This is known.
Wait, was there a minor form redesign? I haven't been to the forums, so I wouldn't know.
I was at the forums.
Real fast.
I was at the forums earlier today, and to be honest, I didn't even notice. So now
I'm opening it now.
So now I have to go and look again.
The text looks different across the top, like where you click. I feel like everything looks boxier, but like I said, I've only been to the forums. Like I could count the number of times on two hands. Dang! Look at all the people online in the forums right now. Even the Hooglins in there.
Yeah, you know what? Now that I'm paying attention to it, I think I like it. It looks a little bit cleaner. It's.
I'm trying to find out why everyone's on here. Where is everyone posting?
It is a pretty minor change from what I am seeing.
I don't know. The last reply was 4 hours ago, and it was in Blackwood's Jasper Prize thing. I don't know why there's so many people on here, or maybe they're. I don't know. Maybe they just accidentally left the tab open. Or maybe they're on here now because Replay just said something about it, and now everyone's in here looking at it like a bunch of idiots, like we are.
What'd they change? What'd they change?
What'd they change?
Not much.
Replay just trolled us all. He had a bet going, telling them that he could get double-digit people in the forum at one time.
Yeah.
I don't get why people boast they don't visit the forums. It's not a good thing. It most definitely is. There's nothing that happens on the forums that I need to concern myself with. Yeah, they don't announce anything only in the forums. The only thing I have to go to the forums for is when Corey does his things. Everything else I can read in my Discord chat with discussions with people, in the subreddit. I don't have to go to the Hex forums.
I don't know if it was initially advertised elsewhere, but I think the one notable exception to that would be what Blackwood's been doing with his sieges. I think he started announcing the whole Pappy Jasper shenanigans in the forums, and then it kind of grew out from there.
Yeah. But if someone like that, like when he did that, he provided a link, and I went directly to it. I don't just sit there and peruse the forums and read it and then feel like I need to add my 2 cents into everything. But if someone does something like Happy Jasper and is like, this is what I'm doing, if you'd like to read about it, here it is. If the link happens to take me to the Hex forums, I won't just like not do it. I won't be like, oh, that's on the Hex forums, never mind.
But changing the subject slightly for a little bit here, just to kind of get to, God, my nose is so itchy tonight for some reason. And I'm not gonna read that, but I think Ranter has it right. With the second comment there. On the subject of us, just kind of rambling for a couple hours versus people submitting stuff to us. When Manifesto and I set out to do this show on a weekly basis, we wanted to make it different than the General's Tent. We didn't want it to be the same format with 2 different faces. We wanted to, try to innovate a little bit, come up with our own ideas to make the show different. And a couple of the ideas that I put forward, frankly, have been flops. And I will own up to that. So far, Plays of the Week has been a flop because we haven't had people submit stuff to us. And my intention with that was to try to motivate content creators to, show off your stuff, brag about your high moments. And that hasn't really worked. So if people do send us stuff, I'm more than happy to feature it. But that is going to be a largely de-emphasized feature. You know, you're not going to hear me go every week, "Oh, nobody sent us a play of the week." I'm just going to, show it when we got one, but shut up when we don't. And same thing with our pinned forum on the threads, Ask Manifesto, Ask Thrawn. We've only had one person regularly ask us any questions. So that's going to be the same deal. If people ask us questions there and have content that you'd like us to discuss in greater depth than just throwing something at us in chat, if somebody posts something there, I'm happy to bring it up if it's a topic we can discuss. But again, going forward, it's not going to be something that we bring up every week, and you're not going to hear me, complaining, "Oh, nobody left us a question," if we don't get anything. Because I realize that unfortunately those have not been very popular modes of communication with us. So I got to try to go back to the drawing board a little bit and think of different things that we can do that are unique. Because we wanted to be more interactive as a show, but if people aren't interacting with us, then we got to figure out other ways to do it. And I lost my partner in crime. Manifesto has disappeared, so
I'm still here. Sorry, I'm sitting in front of the fan because my body reached like 90 some degrees. I'm coming back.
You're just off camera. I didn't know if I'd lost you.
Yeah, I have the box fan pointing right at me because obviously then you wouldn't hear it in the mic, so it's kind of like blowing on the very bit of my back.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a good time to take 2 seconds, lean back, get some air.
If anybody does have like segment ideas or things that you think might be fun on a recurring basis, I have an ego, but my ego is not in that ground. I can take suggestion on ideas, and I'm happy to implement other people's ideas if they're good, even though they're not mine. So, let me know if you've got ideas for what you think could be an interesting show segment. But in the meantime, we'll keep trying to brainstorm ways of our own to make things different and unique from week to week. Replay asked, should Hex add another weekly tournament to replace the gap the Immortal Weekly left?
Immortal Weekly.
Because there is no Immortal tournament now. It's been replaced by the on-demand Immortal Constructed Gauntlet. So there is, where we did at one point have a scheduled tournament every day of the week. Am I correct now that we have one day where there's nothing because the Immortal Weekly is gone? If that's the case, then I think it'd be fine to bring in a new weekly tournament to fill in that day where currently there's nothing. But, and here's the part where people would probably disagree with me, I would like it to be another wacky format like Singles Night. I'd like it to be something different that's not Immortal and is not standard. So we can have that could be an entire topic of conversation itself on what form that tournament takes. But I'd like to see it replaced with something that's not straight Immortal and not straight standard as we have it now. Do you have any thoughts on that? God, why will my nose stop being so damn itchy?
Nazi nabs! Rancher said, wouldn't that reduce the possible revenue from people wanting to play Immortal? I mean, people who want to play Immortal have a free way to play Immortal now, so I don't... Well, it's not free, but... I mean, there's an on-demand queue for Immortal Gauntlets, so... I feel like the people who want to pay to play Immortal have a place to pay and play Immortal. Unless I'm not understanding what your question is asking.
I like where Ducklet's head is at. The previous week's Mary Melee with a gold entry fee. That could work as a tournament. Or if not the previous one, just, one of them on a schedule. It could start, or in the same release schedule they were now. So the first one is Corinth versus Corinth, and the second one is Who's the Boss, and they rotate through in that same order and just kind of cycle through. I could see that.
I don't really, not the word isn't care, but I feel like the one thing they need to do is, it's great that we have something to do every night, but some of them are clearly way less played than others, and I feel like putting them on a rotation as a whole would help. Like, I think there were 4 people in Singleton the other night.
Yeah,
if I remember the screenshot correctly.
I think that's been the case for a while
And it's
right now.
like,
The singles night is not a popular format by any metric.
and I mean, the other ones aren't too far behind them. Some nights, not every night, but I feel like taking things away for a short period of time has a way of making people want them a little more when they come around. Like the same reason that Merry Melees are rotating. So if they could get a couple more, I'd rather have a couple more formats that they might do like 2 nights a week, but then you don't see them again for 2 weeks, and then fill up their week calendars like that would be way more than this is the same every week, and then you just slowly start seeing what no one wants to play.
Or
Maybe, I mean, it would be a test. You'd have to see. Maybe if they took Singleton away for 2 weeks and brought it back, more people would play it. But also maybe not.
I think the ultimate low-hanging fruit would be that we already have 2 nights a week that are devoted to Fight Night. They could do the same for the Arcanum Vault and make that 2 nights a week. So then you have 2 rock tournaments and you have 2 standard constructed tournaments, and then singles night. Because I mean that's the no effort solution. You're just copy pasting a tournament you're already doing over to another night. Anything above and beyond that takes some effort, and I'd prefer they go the more effort route. But at least as a stopgap, they could say Arcana Vault 2 nights a week until they have something more interesting to fill its place. But that's kind of, yeah, I was thinking put the vault on Monday. There you go. Lock in a Arcana Vault, so you always have that on Monday. And we already always have a fight night on Friday, so you keep those 2 as the constants, and then you rotate the other 3 with stuff. Yeah, that's all I got on that one. Arcana Vault isn't doing any better according to the skate. Why double it? Why double it? You double it because it takes literally no effort to do it right now. So you at least are offering something to your player base, and then you use that time to develop something more interesting. That's all I got on that one.
Oh, I was like, I didn't know what that meant, but now I understand what it said. Yeah. I don't know. It's all so dependent on increasing the player base anyway that I think other things have to happen first before you're even going to have enough people, like a big enough pool to test whether the changes you're making to the weekly schedules are actually being affected by your changes or by just the stagnancy that we're in right now.
Fred Hex asks, is 5 shards still a thing though? To which I'm going to say, honestly, no. I think Pentachills does some stuff, but if you go to 5shards.com right now, literally the entire front page is posts advertising the latest episode of 2 Turns Ahead, from episode 194 down to episode 185. And Rancher says 3 to 4 weeks without a 2 Turns Ahead. So, yeah, the last post I see on their site was May 16th, 2018. So I'm going to, without casting anybody any shade, I'm going to go ahead and say I think 5 Shards is kind of a dead site right now. And, hopefully we see them come back. I have no ill will towards any of those folks. But when there hasn't been a post in a month, it's hard to say anything other than you're not really active right now. Penta is doing the podcast, though, and it had a temporary... I mean, it makes sense to have a temporary break. There's not... I mean, if you're going to take a break, this is kind of the time to do it. It's not like we have so much... As this episode is Exhibit A of, it's not like we're so drowning in news this week. We're pulling topics out of
this episode almost didn't even happen.
We're just trying to make... I am the champion of I will happily ask dumb questions just to stimulate a conversation. And I will start clubbing Manifesto over the head, proverbially, not literally, with dumb questions just to try to get us to fill some content time. Some of my ideas
and I'm
are
here
awful.
for the beating.
Manny knows a couple of the ideas I sent him in Twitch DMs before we actually started writing show notes. So not all of my ideas are good ideas. What do you what do you think of the rise of Dinobot? Okay, am I supposed to know what Dinobot is?
I'm assuming it's a moderation bot for the forums.
Wait, we're automating. Are you for real? We're automating a moderation because actually determining context and human interaction is too hard. I don't know. I don't know what
It might also be a joke.
it could be, and then congratulations, you successfully trolled me and made me look very stupid because I don't know what Dinobot is. There was an article post.
Oh, Fred.
Yeah, Fred. Yes, the numbers. Hey, look, everybody, the numbers are down. The numbers are down. Ah! That's my doom face. Ah!
Oh, that's nice. I'm getting on the delay. I like it.
You're getting it on the delay. I sometimes think I have a face that's made for like GIFs and memes, so I have to be careful about making dumb faces, or they're gonna be on the internet forever.
Please, people, don't make me have to look at Thrawn's face forever. Don't make those.
He's like 60 to 90 minutes a week is plenty, thanks. Last many posts were copy paste and no communication from Dino. People say his account has been replaced by a bot. Okay. I get the joke now. You could also call that the Friday update bot, where it's here's our Merry Melee, here's the reminder.
Gotcha.
Yeah, a lot of those have felt copy paste, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. I don't hold Dinotropia personally responsible for that. I think he's operating under guidelines from on high, where the job that he's allowed to do as a community manager is extremely restrained from within Hex Entertainment on what I think he's allowed to do. And I would like to, that's the thing I would like to see change. Give him more free reign to actually manage the community and get out there and say stuff. But
I've already been over the whole no news thing, so I'm not going to even talk about that again. I'm already hot enough.
Ravnak, is it time to make Thrawn a meme? Is that what I heard? I better be careful, or somebody's gonna decide that that's a thing that needs to be done.
All right, what else is on this list? Let me find my list again. I buried it. Never Have I Ever Hex Edition. I think we're skipping that.
That wasn't even a real thing. The way you wrote it, that was not a real thing.
Oh, it's real for me. That question might not have been real, but the Never Have I Ever Hex Edition might be real.
Well, we're at an hour 12. Did you want to go to Cards of the Week?
Leave time for when Manny's... Oh, yeah, nope. We're good so far there. We can do Cards of the Week, or we can talk about Dungeons and Dinglers if you like. Either or.
Yeah, I don't want...
Maybe that's something that we could talk about next week with our potential special guest.
Yeah, I think
Since we didn't get an announcement this week, I think next week's probably good for that.
Yeah, that should probably be moved into the rainy day topic fund. Let's do Cards of the Week.
All right. Cards of the Week, where the cards aren't necessarily great, but we love them anyway.
Where everything's made...
We are entering Prismatic Week, because I said so. Special guest. Yes, special guest. No news yet. I can't tell you. And we haven't, it's not set in stone. But they're another guest on the books who's agreed to come on the show with me and Thrawn to throw themselves into this 2 hours of wonderfulness.
That is the one thing I can say that I think we're doing pretty good is that we're on our 8th episode and we've had 2 guests already, and we have plans for a 3rd, where the general's tent guests for them were obscenely rare. So I do like that. I think we're on track to be more inclusive, I guess, for lack of a better word, in terms of bringing in other people.
I mean, if you like guests, I could get people on here like every night. They might not be good.
I'm gonna have to lower Strommore's hopes a little bit that our guest on deck is not a Hex
it's definitely not Corey yet.
I'm not bashing the general's tent. I'm just saying that, in my opinion, there's at least one thing that we're doing better.
You wait for
And,
you wait. I mean,
saying
maybe
that is
episode.
saying that is not casting shade on anybody.
If we make it to 50 episodes, we might reach out, see if we can get the Corey Jones or someone like that on.
Yeah, Ranter's got it right. Just wanting to differentiate ourselves.
So let's see here. What did I say? Prismatic. Yes, we're going to enter a couple weeks of Prismatic cards of the week because I feel like, and Thrawn feels like, that we should definitely be upon the spoiler season. And since we know the next set is also going to be Prismatic themed, focusing on the threshold combinations that this set did not, we'll be able to talk about our favorite Prismatic troops, actions, and constants before we get a whole new batch of them, and just hopefully next week or the week after. So with that being said, I believe I started last week, so how about we start with yours this week, Thrawn? Oh, we're doing Prismatic troops. Troops first.
Yep. And as always, I have What's That Card? As we talk about cards, you will see on screen pieces of a card's art, and the first person who can tell me at Thrawn Omega, so I see it in chat what the card is going to get an Evo code. I like to force a small amount of participation in winning stuff beyond just showing up in chat, having a pulse, and entering a word. But so there's your first clue. And I got to move my stuff around and see what my first card was. Oh, okay. My first Prismatic troop that I wanted to highlight and talk about is Forever's Child. This is a legendary card from Primal Dawn. It is a 5-cost double wild, double diamond, life drain troop. At the start of each turn, if you gain health this turn, summon an Orchin. And the Orchins are spirits that, as this enters play, it has +1/+1 for each health troop, or for each health you gain this turn. This is a powerful card, really great effect, really strong in life gain archetypes. The one other thing that was notable for me when I was looking at this art, and then I was scrolling through basically every other art I could find with human art on it, is that this is one of the rare cards that has, like, I guess, I don't know if she's technically a human because she's an avatar of youth, but this is one of the very few non-white human characters you're going to see in this game. When I look through the human art, like, I'm not one who's big on identity politics, but the human art is so overwhelmingly white, even I went, come on, guys. So it was nice to see one character that is not that way, and it's on, it's great art, and it's on a great card. So that's what I had to say about that one. And Strawmore fast. Strawmore is super fast with the card of the week. That it's regular blight.
That's because you put too big of a picture on it.
I know. I gave away too much. I didn't even need to bother with the other two clues.
I would have put, like, I'm gonna show you what my first clue would have been if I used that card based on yours.
Strom, what is your in-game name? Airtron? Am I remembering that correctly? If not, please let me know. Because I need confirmation of that in chat to be able to send you a code, because Hex needs that for tracking. It is Airtron. Okay. Got it. I will send that off. Manny, what do you got for your first card?
1 second.
Oh, I know what you have for your first card, as long as you do them in the order that you wrote them.
So you know. Yeah, I'm going to do them in the order that I posted them in, I think. So my first card is Howling Plains Alpha. Sorry. It's a 2-cost 2/2 Diamond Wild Troop. Is a Kyoto Warrior, Ardent, Uncommon. Deploy Creative Valor and put it into your hand. When this attacks, Valor's troops you control get +1/+1 this turn. Unfortunately for the listeners, almost 100% of the reason I picked this card is the card art. The card art on this is just absolutely awesome. A lot of the Kyoto Warriors got this kind of rough, hand-drawn aesthetic, I guess you would say, to their art. But this one is my favorite. It was also a playable card. There was a time when there was a wild Diamond Valor synergetic deck, I guess. I don't think it was top tier, but it existed. I don't think it was as good as the Diamond Ruby one that came out a little later. But it's a solid card, but it's almost 100% for the artwork for me for this first one. I see you don't have an extended art of it.
You're viewing off delay. I literally just clicked the unlock extended art button because I had to do it.
There we go.
Like, main reason I like this card is the art. Well, we better show the art then. That is significantly better extended because you see more of the sigil on the ground.
Yeah, I like it. It's super pretty. But like I said, still a good card. Valor was a fun little mechanic back when all the sets that were out at the same time focused on things making Valor and the Ardent troops all kind of being synergetic in that way.
All right, so my second card
number 2.
My card number 2 to highlight for Prismatic troops. It's not an avatar, but it might as well be for me because it's the avatar of everything I want to be doing in a trading card game. Surging Wildfire. This is an uncommon from Scars of War. 4-cost, single ruby, single wild threshold, 1/4 with rage 1 and speed. When this attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to each opposing champion. If this also had Crush, it would be the perfect card. But that would also probably make it overpowered. But I love this because it has rage and speed, so it's continuing to get power, and it can swing in, the turn you play it. Its ability of dealing damage to the face for its power when it swings, paired with combat tricks, enables all kinds of filthy shenanigans. I absolutely adored drafting this card and trying to find ways to make him work. I would splash into one of those shards if I needed to play Surging Wildfire if those were going around the table back in the Scars of War draft days. So I absolutely love this card, and so of course I had the full art ready to go on that baby.
One of my favorite things about Surging Wildfire is it plays very well with the champ powers. It's a very champ power synergetic card most of the time it's played.
Yep, like with Grandfather Elk to give it +3/+3 and Crush.
I don't think I've seen that one extended. It looks good. Looks good.
You get a little bit more.
All right, number 2 for Manifesto. I actually switched the order, so check back to the thing. My numero dos is a card that I've tried to force in many a deck, and it just doesn't work still. It's Grimoria. Grimoria is a 6-cost Diamond Sapphire Troop Incarnation. Is a rare from Frostheart?
Correct.
Yes. It's a 4/6, has flight, and it has a basic for 4 Frostform option, which would make it a 4/1. The trick is in the card text that reads, when a troop you control is dealt damage, draw a card. So it basically makes all your blockers read draw a card. Or if they just take any damage at all, it doesn't have to be from blocking. But I always wanted to make this work. It works super well in the Diamond Sapphire, like what Diamond Sapphire wants to be doing, as far as having a troop with flight that has a big booty, so it can be used as a blocker because the Diamond Sapphire doesn't usually run a lot of troops because it's much more spell-based. But it just costs a little too much, is really the problem. The art is super awesome on it. It's to describe it loosely for the viewers, it's a spiral scroll that has taken has wrapped. It's kind of like a mummified into the kind of like a paper angel, I guess you would say. It's kind of got some ribbons coming off its back that kind of look like wings, and then like a bright light shooting from where its eyes would be. I just love this card. I've tried to put it in many decks. It just doesn't, unfortunately, make the overall deck better. It's been in forms of my Hailhawk deck. It's been in forms of PA decks, but it's just there's just better cards to take its place, and mostly because of its cost. If it was a 4 and like a 3/5, or even maybe 5, you get away with it. But 6 is just too much. Maybe if Mobilize ever got big, still, the only thing I can think about is Cosmic Calling it out, though, and then you're just kind of hoping your Cosmic Calling hits it. But I digress. One of my favorite cards. One of my favorite Prismatic troops. One day to work.
It never got off the ground and constructed. I did have a few matches in Limited, though, where I was able to piggyback that guy to wins. And was able to do its job there.
I mean, a 4/6 flyer in Limited doesn't matter when you draw it. That's a great card to have. That wouldn't even have to have the rest of the text on it.
How did I not have this guy extended? So my last card, if we're talking Prismatic troops, is Dreamsmoke Mystic. This is one of my favorite cards from Armies of Myth. It is uncommon, a 3-cost, single sapphire, single wild, Coyote Warlock with 3 attack, 3 defense, and the ability you can see the top card of your deck, and you can pay 2 at any time. It's not a basic ability to put the top card of your deck on the bottom of your deck, which is a great way to just kind of have the knowledge of what's coming, and also play Go Fish a little bit. If you're about to draw a shard and you don't want it, you can throw that back on the bottom of the deck and hope that you're going to find something else. Pseudo Fate Weave before Fate Weave was a thing. Like, it's not nearly as good as Fate Weave, but this was one of the earliest cards to let you manipulate your deck a little bit and see what you were doing with it. All on, 3 for 3, which is not a terribly statted body. Pretty solid card. Still, I think, viable for PvE shenanigans. Maybe not at the highest level of the power spectrum, but this is a card I'm not. If I'm playing a deck that could use this card, I'm never sad to have this card in my deck. I like the Mystic just sitting there, all contemplative, making bears out of his smoke, just casually enjoying a pipe in his rocking chair. Looks like an older Coyote. But yeah, what you got is your final.
My final should come as zero surprise to anyone who knows me, even a little bit. My final Prismatic troop is, of course, the Librarian. 3-cost, Blood Sapphire, 1/4. Thrawn, unfortunately, does not have the extended art animated one that I have up on my screen, but I can't blame him for that. It is a unique troop, so you can only have 1 out and play at a time. It has a deploy summon a library curator, which is a 1/1 unblockable chaos. It's a 1/1 chaos touch that makes all other chaos troops you control have unblockable. No, it's all of them, so it gets unblockable too. So it gives the librarian, most importantly, unblockable. When the librarian deals combat damage to an opposing champion, look at the top 4 cards of that champion's deck. Put one of those cards into your hand and put the rest into their crypt. It is basically the most overpowered shenanigans you could ever possibly ask for in this archetype. Unfortunately, it's an insta-kill card. It's not something your opponent can let sit on the board. But if he does, you basically get an extra card every turn, one of their cards, so even if you don't really want it, you just take it away from them, and you're removing 3 other cards from their deck as well. So guaranteed 4 berry, basically, with the bonus that one of them actually becomes yours. It unfortunately does not change the threshold of the card like a lot of blood cards do, but I think that would have just made it just too broken. So if you're not playing in your opponent's shards, you're probably not going to be playing the cards you steal, but every once in a while, you get lucky and you're playing against Sapphire or Blood and take something useful.
Or you fish out some of their resources first so that you can start playing what you steal.
Yeah, or that, or you take a bomb first and then you hunt for the resource you need for it. Yeah. Regardless where you play it, it's removing 4 cards per turn, and the damage is, I mean, it's still 2 damage minimum unblocked every turn until it can be dealt with. So definitely has seen play. Not so much this set. There was a couple librarian decks last set. He kind of has fallen out of favor, but he rotates, right? Yeah, he rotates next set too.
No, Hero Fall and Scars of War are what are rotating. He'll be around for a while.
He'll be around. But I always think the Broken Heart is Hero Fall for some reason. I don't know why. So yeah, so maybe he'll come back next set. That's my hope. I mean, he's still playable. You can still totally build a deck around the Librarian right now, and it would probably be okay. Maybe not tier 1, but I could see it being all right. And that'll do it for our cards.
Yes, that's what we got, and amazingly enough, here I am going, we got nothing to talk about this week. We've managed to make stuff up for 90 minutes now, so I think we're allowed to wind down here into hot takes / bold predictions. What you got for me this week?
Bold predictions. Where'd my thing go? Manny, there it is. If spoiler season doesn't start next week, there may be fires and pitchforks. That might be a slight over-exaggeration, but it's my way of saying that I think spoiler season will start on Friday.
I was going to say, I also don't know I don't know if that qualifies as a bold prediction. people being people. So my bold prediction is a little bit more out there, and I don't know how people are going to react to this, but we've already seen Hex leverage their intellectual property and try to license or farm it out once with the game Shards, the deck builder. You know, taking their existing intellectual property and art assets and making a deck building game out of it, or I shouldn't say they are. There's another company that's using it to do that. I would predict by the end of this year, we are going to see that again, and the Hex IP is going to appear somewhere else, whether it be in the form of Cryptozoic releasing a physical deck building game that uses Hex as a theme and art assets. It could be some kind of a Hex-themed board game. The most outlandish possibility, because Hex isn't known for this, is some kind of RPG system similar to Dungeons and Dragons or Pathfinder, but set in the Hex universe. This is something I'd see more if they partnered with Fantasy Flight Games, because Fantasy Flight Games has the Star Wars license and it has the Star Wars RPG, so they kind of know how to do that more. But I think, because this is what I would do if I was Corey Jones and I was the CEO. I'd go, I have this IP, I have all of these art assets, how can I use this stuff? And so my thought would be, you know, something along those lines. And by the way, if they came out with Dungeons and Dinglers as their, I don't know that they actually call it that, but if you want D&D for Dungeons and Dinglers and you make an RPG set in the Hex universe, I'd totally check it out. But that's what I got.
That's what we got.
Why would someone pay for the Hex IP though? Well, that's why I'm thinking that's why I think the RPG system is the most outlandish one. But Cryptozoic and Hex Entertainment are like this. You know, they're linked pretty much. So asking Cryptozoic to make something isn't a hard idea at all. They could share that IP back and forth easily. It's just, I guess the question is, what are you building and do you think it'll sell? But you already have a wealth of art to draw from. What about Hex JRPG? Now that you would have to farm out to somebody else, because Hex is already full press just making their card game. They don't have resources to make a JRPG. But you know, I'd be all over that. I don't think Hex would work as an MMO because, with apologies to the Hex lore fans out there, I don't think Hex does enough at this point to differentiate itself to survive in an MMO space when there's World of Warcraft, Terra, 1,000 bajillion fantasy MMOs out there. But a JRPG could work. Any final thoughts for the day, Manny? Shameless plugs. Anything else you want to shout into the void before we wind up down for the week?
No, I already. So here, lol. I'll just repeat myself real quick that there won't be a Shardsworn Showdown this week on Friday on the main channels. I will probably just stream on my own channel at that time. Marty's taking a small break, personal reasons. That's all I'm at liberty to say. So, none of that. The rest of the information is, as always, underneath of our heads the whole time. So I think everyone knows I'm Hex Manifesto, and find me in game under regular Manifesto and have a whisper conversation with me, because I love that we don't have just emotes. So you can talk. Fun fact: you can talk to each other when you're not playing each other. The conversation can extend past the current opponent.
That's true. Without the chat system as is, I wouldn't be able to talk Star Wars with Roostosaur in chat as much as I do. Yeah, so I don't have anything. I don't have anything fancy to plug this week besides, as always, check me out tomorrow, Dungeon Masters of Entrath on the official channel at the same time as our show tonight. Starts at 5 p.m. Pacific. I run 2 to 3 hours. I would in particular ask if people are wanting to play to try to show up early in the stream as much as possible. The last few weeks, my show has been a barren wasteland for most of the first hour, and I've had hardly any chat activity or challengers at all until like hour 2 of the stream, which is kind of making me sad and panic a little bit. Like I feel like I'm doing something wrong, but nobody's given me any feedback about, hey, Thrawn, you suck at this. Thrawn, you should do that, to give me any kind of gauge as to what I could be doing better or what I should change or anything. But, you know, I'm literally giving away my own stuff to people to come and play for free against me for, you know, prizes and just engage in random shenanigans. So, as always, stop by, you know, have some fun. Lately, it's been first come, first serve on dungeon entry, so whoever speaks up first, you know, I just write your name down, get through as many people as I can in a night. And lately, under that system, everybody who's wanted to play, if you didn't show up super late, you've gotten to play. But that's all I got.
We did it!
Yeah, Ducklet is the king of the tower. Ducklet has more wins than anybody else, and that reminds me, I think I forgot to update the tower list with last week's winners. So I'm going to have to remember to do that too.
I have the first win, which is all that matters to me.
Sounds good. Well, then with that, at an hour and 38 minutes, I'm going to call it a show for us. I want to thank everybody for hanging out, and you know, hope to catch you tomorrow. Otherwise, we will be back here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Ah.